Hi, I'm Vincent Farley with Telops. Very happy to be here in Baltimore for the SPIE DCS conference. And today I'm going to talk to you about things to consider before purchasing a high-speed infrared camera. So a lot of people will naturally think about frame rates. You need a high frame rate, but that's very true, but it's definitely not the only thing you need to be concerned about. So we wanted to explain a little bit about the top 5 considerations that we have thought about. Wanted to share with you that it's important to think about when you're going to select an infrared camera. So the first thing you need to worry about is the speed of the target you're looking at, obviously. So that's directly going to influence the camera choice. But then there are many others. So the second one is the temperature range that your target is going to have. Third one is the spatial resolution that you need to image your target properly. The fourth one is the sensitivity that you're going to need. So what kind of signal-to-noise ratio are you looking for? And finally, the fifth consideration is the spectral emissivity. So different spectral emissivity signatures will require different cameras or different configurations. And all of these 5 considerations are really tangled up together. They all influence each other, so it's very important to look carefully at all of these in parallel. For example, if your target is going to be a high temperature target, then naturally it's going to be easier to measure that in high speed because you're going to have more photons from the thermal emission coming into your camera. So now more photons means you can reduce your exposure time, and that fits quite nicely because short exposure times are required to go to very high frame rates. And the second reason why short exposure times are going to be good also for high-speed infrared movies is that they're going to allow you to have nicer images without smearing effects, or it's going to be like a stop-motion image instead of a blurred image due to the motion of the target. So that's a second reason for that. Then I talked about spatial resolution. That's very key. To have a very nice image with a lot of pixels is always nice, but it has a price in terms of speed. The detectors always perform in higher speed, especially the cooled infrared camera detectors that reach the very high speeds. They will perform much higher speeds if you window it down and read less pixels. And different detectors will gain much faster than others for smaller windows. So if you can work with smaller windows, cameras that you would not have considered as being very high speed will start becoming very interesting choices. So that's important to keep in mind. And sensitivity is always critical. Sometimes you're going to be able to reduce further your exposure times and crank up the frame rates if anyways what you're looking for are large temperature effects. You don't need to detect very faint signals. Now that may be less true if you're looking for very faint signals. You're going to need to fill your camera well. So these are the main ones, and the last one I wanted to mention is the spectral emissivity signature, because if you're looking at black body-like targets, that's fine. They're going to have good emissions in all wavelengths, but if you're looking at targets with very colored signatures, or gases are good examples, they have very narrow emission lines, well then maybe a mid-wave is a good option, but other times a long-wave camera will be much better. And sometimes even a multispectral camera may be your best bet, because you're then going to be able to really focus on small wavelength bands that are going to much better represent, or that will fit much better the spectral signature of what you're looking at. So more or less, at Telops, we make all sorts of high-speed cameras. This is one here, the Fast IR 2K, up to 2000 frames per second in the full frame, but also very sensitive camera with a large pixel pitch, a fast F number. So these are extremely sensitive. You can work at very short exposure times, even for ambient targets. So these are high speed for even ambient temperature targets. That's a key feature of that specific camera, but we have lots of others, and we'll be happy to help you in your infrared camera high-speed selection process. So thanks.